Thank you for participating in the Harrington PPAP4WIND Consortium briefing, and for those who are viewing it later. For those who already spoke or had conversations with on this, there's some exciting news in this session about deliverables and supplier-based membership. The supply chain has OEMs, big tier ones, small suppliers, and we're going to try to discuss all their viewpoints. As any webinar, the housekeeping's the same. The phones are muted, but we would like to hear and answer your questions. A copy of the presentation can be downloaded from this event, and for those that need it, a certificate of attendance is provided. First, this project is not endorsed by or associated with PPAP4WIND.org. But more importantly, Harrington's continued investment and commitment to solving business problems using digital technologies provides a great opportunity for the wind energy supply chain. And what we're going to talk about today are details on the vision and deployment of the PPAP4WIND Consortium. The approach is simple. Suppliers pay the cost of a single solution for all their wind energy customers. Customers pay for integration with their existing systems and innovative analytics they're looking for that they can't get from spreadsheets, and some AI systems that are coming, because we're just trying to get the result we're looking for, and that is the defect reduction across the supply chain. Bottom line, the consortium gets the wind energy supply chain up and running faster for less cost. So we're going to talk about the supplier challenge. I work with a lot of suppliers that are wrestling with how to deploy. But of course, I'm also going to share some of the OEMs and big companies ones. We'll talk about the consortium goals, what we expect to achieve, what hurdles need to be overcome, who the potential participants are, who should participate, how many, deliverables, what and when, the investment, how much, and this is both time, money, and resources. And then the next step. So the goals are pretty straightforward. Again, we want to get rapid defect reduction. Now, rapid deployment, that's an important subject, and this is a challenge for big companies. Some of the ones I've been talking to have been talking about PPAP APQP deployment strategy for a long time, and so far the best they've come up with either no decisions, just stick with the current spreadsheets. Suppliers, however, that I speak with, they act quickly. In fact, there's a supplier grouping option that we're going to talk about. Simplify. This is very, very important. A lot of the solutions being considered are very complex. And after working with a group of volunteers that all were making parts, they told me every meeting, I want something better than spreadsheets, but not too complicated. Minimize cost to everyone, customers and suppliers. Customers pay for integration into their existing tools, supplier portals. Suppliers pay for a license that provides a tool that's integrated and connected with their customers. Move data decisions. That's an interesting comment, but how? And we're going to talk about billions of lines or rows in spreadsheet files that are not available for analytics, and that must change. The other note is one of the best ways to frustrate the entire supply chain is to ask them for a bunch of stuff that you don't use. Provide software that works. And when I just talk about that, I mean developed by people that have been using spreadsheets for a long time. The users have to be engaged. And I guess what I'm saying is not programmers that read a book or a standard. But again, remember, if it's too complicated, I'm going back to spreadsheets. Leverage AI. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Excuse me. But probably the most important is maximize the PPAP ROI. I mean, the bottom line, if there isn't an ROI, then why are we doing this? If we can't calculate the ROI, then either we need more data or we need integration to connect to some other data. And sometimes the ROI that's used to justify this is labor savings. I mean, it's labor intensive, cumbersome in spreadsheets. If you take a baby step, we'll save 30% of quality engineers or manufacturing time. And that's okay. That is an ROI. But I'm talking about direct connection that shows the PPAP effort has reduced failure costs. So what's the vision? First of all the logos are owned by the respective companies and are shown for description of the global supply chain. There's no endorsement given or implied by any of these logos. But I've been talking to almost every logo on this slide, and they have common challenges and common issues going on. Again, the big companies, the OEMs, the larger tier one suppliers, and of course, the thousands and thousands of small suppliers. Let's talk about them. I had a supplier ask me if I get, he didn't know exactly, but 10, 20 maybe suppliers that want to join together, can we do that? And the answer is yes. I mean, I appreciate the question because, to be honest, I didn't even think about it, but we can bring suppliers together to work together. The other question that comes up a lot is, what qualifies Harrington Group to do this project? This will be my fourth quality software consortium. I have a proven track record. This is a quote from the VP of Quality at a large automotive supplier I worked with, developing the tools in automotive. John effectively led a very diverse group of subject matter experts with a lot of opinions through the successful design, development, and launch of the PPAP tool. Now, just in her comment, it's very important. Design, development, and launch, the entire process. Design, and that's what I was referring to earlier, is the voice of the supplier or your internal users. And one of the groups that's really forgotten are the supplier quality engineers. They're very important in helping design and enable this. We'll talk about that too. And again, development. I will be the project manager. I am internationally recognized as a PPAP subject matter expert. And my point is, you can't just have any project manager. You got to have somebody that understands the users and understands IT in order to bring this together. I mean, developers are developers. And over the decades of software development I've done, most of them need a thorough design document with all the use cases. If all you give them is a spreadsheet and say, automate the spreadsheets, you're missing it. I mean, any competent IT person can look at a spreadsheet and go, well, here's the data schema. But what's important in development is how people use the software to create the knowledge from the data. So, what do we have right now? PPAP4WIND.org has made available a wind energy PPAP tool. But what I'm talking about, again, is better than spreadsheets, but not too complex. And that solution is available today. Most of the interest is coming from suppliers. They're already starting to see PPAP requirements on the purchase order. And they're already starting to get mixed messages in trying to help understand and deploy. They're starting to see, customized forms where customers said they had to take the industry tool and change the column headings or move headings around. What's coming, I haven't been told this yet, but from other industries I work in, they're going to start seeing columns that show up that's not in any of the material. And yes, it's very frustrating. By the way, it's as frustrating for the suppliers as it is for the supplier quality engineers. Now, wind energy is also benchmarking automotive, the people that started this thing a long time ago. And if you're benchmarking them, it's important to know that the automotive industry has already started to say FMEA software is required to ensure the linkage between the affected documents. And specifically what they're referring to is process flow, PFMEA, control plans. They all have to be part of the same tool. Now, again, when automotive was looking for a subject matter expert to do this, they came to me. So wind energy can catch up to automotive today and bypass them in 18 months as far as effective deployment. I created this diagram to try to explain and help people understand the phases, if you will, that go through. Wind energy is currently at 1.0. We've got an PPAP4WIND workbook. We got a spreadsheet. PPAP 2.0 is replacing spreadsheets with a relational database that's not too complex, but better than spreadsheets. 3.0 and 4.0 is why this consortium is being formed. An industry effort to reach the goals we discussed. And the goals, remember, rapid deployment, simplify, minimize costs to customers and suppliers, and again, probably more importantly, provide software that works. There's a lot of tools that are over-engineered and bring things together that makes it challenging. And leveraging the AI, we'll talk about that in a minute. But remember, the other goal that I think is critical is to maximize the PPAP ROI. Again, if there isn't an ROI, why are we doing it? If we can't calculate the ROI, we need better data. Let's just talk about the big company challenge viewpoint for a minute. I don't care how big you are. $15 million is $15 million. Well, what if we could do something else, a new approach? And that's what the PPAP4WIND Consortium is about. So what are we exactly talking about? We're talking about PPAP4WIND is a proven solution available today. Now, probably the biggest challenge that I hear from the bigger companies is their IT departments. There's another large company I've been talking with for several years, and they've done nothing to provide a better tool for their plants and their suppliers. Because, I mean, they say, well, IT said this, and IT said that, and cybersecurity, and on and on. And I guess my reaction is, you're currently using spreadsheets that you're emailing around and uploading into project management tools. So going from PPAP 1.0 spreadsheets to 2.0, at least get you login control, audit trails. I mean, come on. If you're worried about security, take the baby step to move out of spreadsheets. The other thing that's going on, I just heard somebody tell me, well, our current software vendor is going to add a PPAP module. And they said, oh, that's good. When's it going to be available? We don't know. Well, what requirements are they building against? We don't know. I can tell you from my experience, this is going to be a much, much higher cost. The timeline will extend forever. It's a high risk. Now, another company told me, well, our corporate IT mandate is to have less software tools. I understand and agree with that. But if you force fit the PPAP process into a tool that wasn't designed for that, I guarantee you they will go back to spreadsheets. Now, today is not about a software demo, but if you like, you can view the YouTube demo, and we can schedule a demo for your team. I did a demo recently with some practitioners, and most of them came from automotive. And after a few PPAP questions like, can you do this? How does this link? What if I want to do this? They were sold. I mean, they saw the screens and they could see the data. They assumed the data schema was complete. That's the easy part. But what they wanted to know is how do I use it? How does it make my job easier? And not just different, but better, easier. One more story about a conversation with a group of SQEs at a big company. They wanted to know the same thing. How does it improve the SQE process? How can it help them help suppliers? And yes, of course, one of the comments came up was, I can't even find supplier PPAP data. And if I do, I don't know if it's the current version. And an example of what they're trying to do is something simple like, I've got a problem in receiving or at the vendor, and I want to look at their PFMEA. Because I want to know, is the problem that we're talking about, in the PFMEA and we missed it, which is a detection issue, or did we not even know about it? And did we not even know about it? You may be surprised, happens more than you think. These kind of conversations is a major part of the consortium. So remember the big company cost line. Let's talk about integration. ERP, usually purchase orders from your customer or to your suppliers drive the process. All we're trying to figure out is what do we have to do and how does it work? PLM, and I know the smaller suppliers don't have these robust PLM systems, but whatever your master source of production data, we need to get the information extracted and be part of it. So PPAP4WIND is designed with the voice of the supplier making parts, not the engineers designing them. And the reason I emphasize that is because these groups think differently, behave differently, have different vocabularies. So, a PLM potential integration, well, it'd be pretty cool if we could send the submission request to the suppliers preloaded with the key product characteristics. Again, this is part of what the consortium entities will work on. We have QMS software, we have supplier portals. Yes, connect with them. Consider PPAP4WIND as a plug and play app. I mean, similar to on your phone, you're looking for an app, you find something you like, you download it, you plug and play. It's part of your phone framework, if you will. But with single sign-on, what we can do is meet the IT requirements and provide it in the technical framework they've already put together. Now, again, single sign-on from the user standpoint says, once I log into the company's technical framework, I'm in. I don't have to log into another app. It's part of your current tool. And if you got other apps that you want to connect to, you can put a one-click link in that app, and it's very fast, minimal cost to link to PPAP4WIND. My warning again is the problem starts when you try to force software on design engineers to people making parts. Now, Harrington is a Microsoft shop. The Microsoft Power Platform gives us the ability to get these connectors. A lot of the connectors already exist to ERP. And this is a low-code, no-code tool set. So again, the options are you can either spend a year and a half trying to come up with your PPAP software requirements. In most cases, you're going to be talking to IT people that don't even know what PPAP is. Or you can start today, and in the low-code, no-code environment, tweak is needed. Things that you never even know about until you really get into understanding the PPAP process. We have a whole nother slide deck on integration and be happy to talk to your team about that. So the solution might look something like this, connecting the ERP. If you have a project management tool that you're uploading spreadsheets to, let's replace that with direct connection to data, both an on-premise mode for your site, for the big guys, and global supply chain PPAP4WIND tool. But again, the magic starts to happen when we connect to nonconformance, defect activity, corrective action activity, SPC data. And again, the Microsoft Power App makes that very simple. So putting your data to work, just rough order of magnitude, 30,000 parts, 3,000 suppliers, 9 billion lines of spreadsheets that have knowledge engineering, proprietary in some cases, information that I can't do anything with. So if we move to PPAP 2.0 today, we can start getting better insights. Show me this by customer, by part number, by supplier. And when I say this, are there common causes of failure? Are there certain detection controls that are working that aren't working? Are there different failure modes? A lot comes to the surface as soon as we get out of these spreadsheets being simply uploaded to project management tools. But again, this is probably the home run. This is where we connect to failure costs to show the ROI. And It's also where you looked at the effectiveness of the entire PPAP effort. I already mentioned SQEs. Is it in the FMEA and we didn't even see it coming? You know, occurrence. Remember, occurrence, severity, detection, those are numbers we kind of guess on based on some kind of thing. I mean, we're just going gut, which is fine. But if we connect to the nonconformance app, we can start saying, wow, this is happening a lot more than we thought. And if we look at the cost associated, this is a lot worse than we thought. I mean, it only happened once, but look what happened. And of course, again, that detection. Why is stuff being found at our customers that we're not finding? Now let's talk about AI, because this is pretty exciting. Remember, PPAP 1.0, current status, spreadsheets, 2.0, proven database app. As we start going further, this is again where we start to put the data to work. Again, as part of the Microsoft Power Platform, next generation AI is part of that infrastructure. Think of it this way. One of the most powerful opportunities to eliminate the keyboard for our SQEs, for our quality engineers, for our manufacturing, or even for executives at high-level analytics, and just let them ask questions. What happened? Why did it happen? Where did it happen? How did it happen? If you want to just get an idea of what I'm talking about, the next time you do a Google search, instead of typing it, talk to it. Imagine giving that same power to your team. So that's the pitch about the business value and why it makes sense. Let's talk about the commercial stock subject, starting with deliverables. Again, added, this is different for the people I've already talked to. Some of the larger companies have asked, can I have an on-premise instance for my data as well, connecting with the PPAP4WIND cloud app? So the answer is yes, and that's been added. Now again, immediately you go to PPAP 2.0 with the proven existing PPAP4WIND tool. And then 3.0, we get the integration, we get the analytics, and we get the AI. So again, the consortium will figure this out, but getting together to work together. The software does not include software customization, consulting, training, deployment services, or ongoing software license and hosting fees. Now remember, when I say customization, in the Microsoft Power Platform, this low-code, no-code environment will allow companies to configure versus customize. And we are in conversations with global training and support organizations that are very willing and able to support a global multifunctional rollout. And as far as the ongoing software fees, we'll talk about that, but the idea is pay for only what you use, pay for only what you need. So if a big company decides to give away 1,000 seats to their supplier and the supplier wants to continue using it, then the supplier pays the fee, not the big company. And again, that's back to the company idea. So what are we talking about? 2,000 annual licenses. That's a retail of $3 million at $125 per user per month. Again, on-premise for internal use if you need it. And the PPAP4WIND software license, including the integration, APIs, reporting, analytics, AI, all the stuff developed by the consortium. So again, PPAP 2.0 today, 3.0 very quickly, 4.0 coming. Now this has come up to the people I'm talking to. What if we need more than 2,000 users? Or how do we assign those? And the answer is allocate them however you want. You can have them internal, you can give them to suppliers, you can do 2,000 suppliers or users in a year. You can say I'm going to have 5,000 users over the next 4 years. And again, if you give them to your suppliers and the suppliers want to use them, they're responsible for the ongoing fees. The other question is, well, we know we're going to need more users and we'd like to buy at the membership rate, not at the retail rate. So yeah, you can buy more at the same time in the agreement, but members, in appreciation for their participation, can still get deep discounts if needed. If 5 members aren't achieved, you still get the discounted pricing, but we don't get the integration, analytics, and AI. And as these questions are asked, the material will be updated. The resources. I will be the project manager. So again, we get PPAP support immediately, the development, and the resources. One of the groups I was talking with, they asked me my background, and when I told them about it, they said, you should write that down so they can use it to support a decision to move forward. And again, this is my 4th consortium. They're fun, they're fast, and they deliver more, and of course cost less to everyone. Remember the goal: reduce cost to customers and suppliers. So if you want to know my background, you can go to my LinkedIn page. There's a write-up on it. Now, what's the investment by the members? You need to have an executive champion. You need to have a project manager on your side, and access to resources as we need them that are going to be involved or critiquing in design, test, and review of the software development. Financially, here's what we're talking about. The first member is a $3,000 membership fee, which is basically $12.50 per user per month. Another question I get is, well, why does the second and third cost more and the fourth and fifth? Well, here's the simplicity of it. The first member is the hardest to get, and they should be rewarded for that. Tag along costs a little bit more, and laggers cost a little bit more. It's just the nature of the beast. But I guess the biggest thing I want to stress is the investment is not just money. It is people and commitment to participate and contribute. So member-only benefits, again, online premise license now included. But you get immediate significant discounts and provide input to the next generation analytics, AI capability, and integration. The idea of options, do nothing. Well, that's not really an option because it's coming up on purchase orders. You can't say I'm going to do it or not do it. Second option, continue to use spreadsheets. It's not best in class. We already talked about the Ford announcement. The automotive industry that's doing this for decades. If we're going to benchmark them, let's start where they're at today, not where they were 30 years ago. We're going to force fit it into ERP or PR or anywhere. Force fitting it, I can guarantee you from my experience, it will be expensive, time consuming, and less effective. Throwing technology at people and not understanding their process, it does not work. Or get a proven stopgap solution today and develop a long-term solution with it. So if you just look at time and money, again, spreadsheets is not an option. Force fitted, it's going to take a while. Write your own. I actually had an account say we're just going to write our own. Okay. They're not a software company. They manufacture parts, but if that's an internal decision, it is what it is. But proven stopgap solution today with a long term on it. So what are the operations or the options and how to look? The timeline will be determined by the members. We're thinking, biweekly phone calls, quarterly face-to-face work groups as needed. And if there's more information that you need to explain this to your executives, to talk to supply chain and the various people involved, there's a host of articles on my LinkedIn page that will help you go through that. If you've got a question that you don't know about or you're wrestling with, contact me and I'm happy to help. Now, for the suppliers, there's an immediate call to action. Engage your supplier quality engineers. And I'm sorry, when I say your supplier quality engineers, I mean your customers' supplier quality engineers. I just had a talk with a very large company down in Mexico. A very frustrated quality engineer called asking for help. And this simple recommendation to engage them, but by the way, they got a spreadsheet that had a bunch of stuff in it that was not clear what they even wanted us to do. I said, talk to your SQEs. Because remember, they're as frustrated as you are. And if you're talking to them, ask them if they know about the PPAP4WIND Consortium and share the material from this event. So next calls, schedule a call meeting to learn more about it. We'll go through the PPAP4WIND existing tool. look at your internal stakeholders, decision makers, confirm the budget. I mean, kind of the classic acquisition process. Now, the other thing that we've come up with, and this again was driven by people asking questions, they go, John, we're at a fork in the road. I mean, we can't decide. We've been talking about it for years, but nowhere's going anywhere. So Harrington has put together a PPAP4WIND proof of concept offering. All the money is applied to a software license, but it's a way to take a baby step, a way to put this information together. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. This is a tough one to start with. How do we get management to understand spreadsheets and project management is not PPAP digitization? Some of those papers I mentioned on my LinkedIn site will help on this, but the summary is executives don't understand the details of the document authoring process. The current way that we create process flow, PPAs, and control plans. If you showed them the tool you're using, the weaknesses of the tool, the non-value added labor you put in, if you talk money, they will get it. Now, when I say talk money, again, there's two things. One is labor savings. You can do it better, quicker, faster, and we get that. But probably the most important is by going from PPAP 1.0 spreadsheets to 2.0 today, we can start getting information that we can't possibly do now. I think this is just to verify. So if the 5 million members are not achieved, what happens? Again, you still get the licensing of PPAP 2.0, the PPAP4WIND tool. You still get deeply discount on that, but there's no integration or analytics. Manages supplier onboarding. That will be done by the Harrington Group. You identify who you want to bring on board, and we take care of the rest. What suppliers do you recommend are giving licenses? There's two basic groups. I mean, the first is the great proven early adopters that you have no problems with. And then the second is the suppliers that are in trouble. I recommend you engage both. They have different views, they have different approaches. Can my data in PPAP4WIND be seen by other suppliers or other customers? No, absolutely not. Well, here's interesting. Can I use PPAP4WIND just for the wind industry or other industries? I have a lot of customers outside of wind that are requiring PPAP. The answer is yes. I mean, once you're in the tool set, you can use it for anyone. It's like one last one. Who makes the final decision as to members' input in the development effort for integration analytics? The answer is the Harrington Group does. That's probably why I shared the reference at the beginning about my role in the automotive project. There was never really a voting argument. My ability to understand the user's perspective, understand the IT perspective, ended up in collaboration and pretty much consensus. So that's my role as a project manager. Thank you for taking the time for viewing this. Please email me, johncachet@harringtongroup.com, if you have questions, you want to learn more. And also happy to connect on LinkedIn. Thank you again for your time.